Imagine for a second that you're just standing poolside. It's opening day at a New York City public pool. The sun is shining. The water is sparkling.
Everyone's just kind of hanging out in their swimsuits, soaking up those summer vibes.
Exactly. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, a guy in a full tailored business suit just hurls himself into the water.
Which is, I mean, it completely shatters the expected reality of that situation.
Well, completely.
You have all these very specific social cues telling you how to behave at a pool, and a business suit just violates, well, every single one of them.
Right. And that disruption is exactly what makes it so fascinating. And this isn't just some hypothetical scenario. Today, we are taking a deep dive into an actual moment that happened recently.
Yeah, Zohran Mamdani reviving this really quirky New York City mayoral tradition of jumping into a public pool on opening day.
Fully clothed, like in that suit.
Fully clothed. Trousers, jacket, tie, the whole 9 yards.
It's wild. So to figure out why this happened and, why it actually matters, we're looking at this massive, incredibly lively thread from the pop culture chat subreddit.
It's just a 17-second clip of this jump, but the reactions are incredible.
They really are. But okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today isn't just to look at a funny viral video and analyze a soggy piece of formal wear.
No, there's way more to it.
Right. We're looking at what that wetsuit reveals about modern political authenticity, the weaponization of wardrobe, and why voters right now are desperately craving these silly civic traditions.
Yeah, that underlying psychology is the real story here, because to understand why the public reacted the way they did, we first have to look at the mechanics of the stunt itself, right?
Okay, yeah.
And how it really contrasts with the baseline of New York City politics lately.
Right, because context really changes everything here. This pool jump, it's actually a mayoral tradition, but it's one that the previous two mayors completely avoided.
They wanted no part of it.
None. The Reddit commenters pointed out that Bill de Blasio, who someone brilliantly described as de-boring,
yeah, I saw that one.
he skipped it entirely.
Yeah.
And as for Eric Adams, one user joked that he would, literally need to be bribed to even consider jumping in.
Right. So by merely participating, Mamdani is setting himself apart from that recent history.
It's showing up.
Exactly. He is breaking a streak of political avoidance and signaling a willingness to engage in the messy, unpolished parts of the job.
And I mean, even when politicians have done it in the past, they haven't done it quite like this.
No, not at all.
Like the last mayor to actually take the plunge was Michael Bloomberg. But he just wore a T-shirt and swim trunks.
Right, just normal pool attire.
Yeah, totally normal.
Yeah.
And then, someone mentioned there's a mayor in Kansas City who does this jump with a sort of hybrid approach.
The mullet approach.
Yes. A suit jacket and shirt on top, but swim trunks on the bottom, like a political mullet.
Business up top, party on the bottom. It's, it's a safe middle ground.
But Mamdani went for the full suit. And here's the crucial detail that really sent the Reddit discussion into overdrive. As he is walking up the steps, right, exiting the pool, completely drenched.
Dripping wet.
Dripping wet. He looks right at the camera and says, "Thank you, Goodwill."
Oh, man. What's fascinating here is the layered messaging in that one tiny phrase. It's remarkable.
Because it's so quick.
Right, but it does so much work. He is performing a stunt, undoubtedly, but by explicitly naming Goodwill, he is instantly managing the financial optics of that moment.
Ah, right.
He is sending a very deliberate signal to working-class constituents that he isn't out there ruining an expensive, bespoke piece of clothing on the taxpayer's dime.
He preemptively disarms the most obvious criticism, like, hey, don't worry, I didn't waste money.
Exactly.
And it turns out this isn't even his first time doing something like this. Someone on the thread brought up a previous campaign video where he jumped into the ocean.
I remember that, yeah.
And he made sure to mention that he ruined a suit from Steinway Thrift, which acts as this nice little local shout out to Queens residents while, doing the exact same optical work.
It perfectly balances the absurdity of the act with a grounded reality. I mean, if you are going to do something that looks wasteful, like destroying a suit in chlorinated water,
which is objectively a bad idea for the fabric.
Right. You have to immediately provide the context that makes it frugal.
It actually reminds me of this friend I have. He'll show up to a super casual house party wearing a full tuxedo, just as a joke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but the second he walks in, he loudly announces, "Don't worry, I got this at a thrift store for $10.
He has to clarify it immediately.
Exactly, because he wants you to enjoy the absurdity of the joke, but he desperately needs you to know he isn't actually just flashing wealth or, acting out of touch.
That's a great comparison.
But, I do have to push back a little here. If a politician openly acknowledges that what they are doing is a planned shtick, which he does by referencing the thrift store, doesn't that make it, I don't know, less of a stunt? Or is it just a highly evolved, hyper-self-aware form of manipulation?
See, that is the central dilemma of modern politics right there. We demand authenticity from our leaders, right?
Sure.
But we also inherently know that every public action they take is mediated and calculated.
Everyone has a PR team.
Exactly. So I would argue that in today's landscape, acknowledging the artifice actually enhances the authenticity.
Because he's not pretending it's just some spontaneous, oops, I fell in accident.
Precisely. The audience knows it's a stunt. He knows it's a stunt. By winking at the camera and saying, "Thank you, Goodwill," he's inviting the voters in on the joke.
Like we're all in this together.
Right. He's basically saying, we both know how this game is played, so let's at least have some fun with it. And that builds a unique kind of crust because it doesn't insult the voters' intelligence.
That makes a lot of sense. And that self-awareness, it seems to be exactly what triggered such an intense wave of nostalgia in the Reddit reactions.
Oh, the nostalgia was palpable.
Reading through the responses, you can really see this deep-seated public hunger for shared, lighthearted moments in a world that, frankly, feels incredibly heavy and divided most of the time.
It is so rare to see an overwhelmingly positive reaction to a political post, especially on a forum dedicated to pop culture. It struck a very specific chord.
It totally did. Multiple people called Mamdani Leslie Knope coded.
Which is high praise on the internet.
It really is. Referencing the, relentlessly earnest, overly enthusiastic public servant from Parks and Recreation who just genuinely loves her town.
Yes.
And then another user shared this amazing personal story. They said their dad used to work at a country club, and he was always known for wearing suits.
Okay.
Every single year, when the pool opened, the dad would jump in wearing an old, beat-up suit with a fake, obsolete cell phone in his pocket.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Right. And as he hit the water, he'd yell, "Oh no, my phone!" just to make everyone laugh.
That anecdote perfectly captures the underlying appeal here. People are expressing a longing for what sociologists might call secular rituals.
Secular rituals, like pardoning the Thanksgiving turkey. Or when a mayor cuts a ribbon with those comically oversized scissors.
Those are prime examples, yes. And we often write those things off as frivolous, right? Or just a waste of time.
Yeah, just fluff.
But these goofy acts aren't distractions from governance. They are vital, humanizing anchors. Think about it. In a massive, diverse city like New York, finding common ground on actual policy is nearly impossible.
Oh, absolutely. People are always going to disagree.
Exactly. So a secular ritual gives the entire city a shared apolitical moment of levity.
It makes me think about how families rely on really silly, nonsensical holiday traditions.
How do you mean?
Like maybe your family always hides a weird pickle ornament on the tree, or you have to wear matching ugly sweaters.
Oh, right.
It makes no logical sense, but families do it because it relieves tension. It gives everyone a reason to laugh together and bond, no matter what other arguments might be happening behind the scenes about, politics or money.
That shared laughter is a social lubricant. It builds community trust because it shows the leader doesn't take themselves too seriously, even if they take the job very seriously.
Right.
We inherently recognize that just focusing purely on the dry data and logistics of running a city, the technocratic side of policymaking, it just isn't enough to inspire people.
But does that mean we are demanding too much entertainment from our public servants?
Mm-hmm.
Like, should a leader just be a strict policymaker, or are they now required to be a community entertainer too?
Well, it is definitely a demanding dual role. But the public seems to recognize that while sound policy is absolutely necessary, it is often very dry.
They don't make for good TikToks.
Exactly. You need a bit of the showman to capture the public's imagination so that you can actually build the consensus required to implement those policies. The entertainment, in a way, becomes the vehicle for the governance.
That's a fascinating way to look at it. But playing that entertainer role, though, and being human in the public eye, it comes with a massive risk in today's hyper-partisan landscape.
Oh, a huge risk.
And the Reddit discussion we're looking at took a really fascinating turn here. It moved away from the fun of the pool jump to show why a politician's wardrobe is actually a strategic battleground.
Yeah, the scrutiny applied to political presentation is intense these days, and the wardrobe is often the first line of defense.
So people were obsessing over his constant suit wearing. Make How I Met Your Mother references about him wearing a suit to swim in, like the character Barney Stinson.
Right, we're calling him Butch Bond.
Yes, Butch Bond. But then they started digging into the why. And it is fascinating how mundane acts become lightning rods. Like, observers noted that his habit of eating certain finger foods with his hands drew sharp critiques from some right-leaning
It
commentators.
really does. And just to be clear, we're not endorsing any political viewpoints here.
Oh, 100%. Let me make that very clear to everyone listening. We are absolutely not taking any sides here. We are just impartially reporting on what the Reddit thread observed about political polarization.
Right. It just illustrates how every minor personal habit is put under a microscope and polarized, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on.
Exactly. The historical examples people brought up really drove this home. They talked about how Barack Obama was heavily criticized over incredibly minor things like wearing a tan suit.
Oh, the tan suit controversy.
Right, despite having what the commenters described as a milquetoast, fairly moderate platform.
Yeah.
And then they brought up John Fetterman, noting how his casual clothes, the hoodies and gym shorts, were relentlessly attacked until his voting record started to shift in a way his critics preferred.
Which is very telling.
And they even pointed out that Ukrainian President Zelensky faced intense criticism for wearing tactical fleece instead of a traditional suit, while his country was literally in the middle of a war.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are dealing with the sociology of wardrobe as armor.
Wardrobe answer, I like that.
Right. For certain politicians, maintaining a rigid, highly traditional appearance like always wearing a tailored suit, even when jumping into a pool, is a deeply calculated defensive strategy.
Wait, so by refusing to change his clothes, he is basically removing the target from his back. Like, if you look like a traditional insider, they can't accuse you of being a messy radical.
That is the core of the strategy. When you exist in a media ecosystem that is desperate to find flaws, you have to eliminate the low-hanging fruit.
Give them nothing to work with.
Exactly. If you're a progressive politician pushing for disruptive systemic changes, your opponents will use anything to discredit you. By wearing a traditional suit at all times, you project an image of institutional respectability.
You give your critics zero superficial ammunition.
Right, forcing them to actually argue with your policy.
It's like wearing a school uniform to avoid being bullied for your fashion choices.
That's a great way to put it.
You just remove the variable entirely so they have to focus on something else. But if everything from how you eat a piece of food to the fabric of your jacket is weaponized, do politicians have to become flawless, predictable robots just to survive? Or is the suit actually a strategic shield that gives them the freedom to take much bigger, wilder policy risks behind the scenes?
The evidence suggests that acts as a strategic shield. The suit operates almost like a Trojan horse.
Ooh, how so?
Well, it signals conformity on the outside, which buys you the political capital to be nonconformist on the inside. If you look like you belong to the establishment, you might just be allowed to pass legislation that challenges that very establishment.
That is brilliant. And the really compelling part of this analysis is that this isn't just theory. The defensive shield of the suit and the localized charm of the goofy pool jump, they aren't just for viral internet film.
No, they have real consequences.
Right. This exact combination translates directly into real-world political momentum.
You can see the tangible ripple effects of this one stunt playing out in the community responses on that thread.
Yes. One user explicitly noted that their local chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America managed to pass a rent freeze in their county specifically by following Mamdani's lead.
Wow.
This single video of a guy jumping in a pool inspired people to get off the internet and actually get involved. They were talking about attending local council picnics or feeling motivated to run for small-town offices.
Like school boards or library boards.
Exactly.
It mobilized people by making local politics look not just important, but accessible and joyful. It lowered the barrier to entry for civic engagement.
Joyful is the perfect word for it. And there's one final detail that emerged in the discussion that really ties all of this together.
The citizenship aspect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone pointed out that because Mamdani is a naturalized citizen, he legally cannot become the president of the United States.
Yeah, the Constitution prevents it.
And while a few people were a bit sad about that artificial ceiling on his career, one New York City resident expressed profound relief.
Which makes total sense if you think about it.
They said that because he can never run for president, it forces him to focus entirely on making the city better, instead of just using his position as a temporary stepping stone for the White House.
This raises an important question about how we view political ambition. We generally assume that a lack of upward mobility is a negative thing, right? A limitation.
Yeah, a roadblock.
But in the context of local politics, local ceilings can be an incredibly powerful asset.
Because usually when you see a really charismatic mayor, part of you is already wondering, okay, when are they going to abandon our town to run for the Senate or the presidency?
Exactly. When a politician is institutionally capped from reaching the highest national office, they often garner significantly more trust from their immediate constituents.
The public perception completely shifts.
You no longer look at them and wonder if they are just building their national resume at your expense. Their motives are perceived as purely community-focused.
They're inherently tied to your location, so they have to make the best of it.
Right.
It makes me think about music. It's like when you find out your favorite local indie band has fundamentally refused to ever sign with a massive corporate record label.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. At first, maybe you wish they were world famous so everyone could hear them, but then it makes you fiercely, intensely loyal to them.
Because you know they aren't going anywhere.
Exactly. They belong exclusively to you and your city, and they aren't going to sell out and change their sound to appeal to the masses.
That exclusivity breeds a much deeper level of trust and affection. You know their investment in the community is permanent, not transitional.
So for everyone listening, think about the politicians in your own town, your own city council members or mayors. Would you trust them more if you knew, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they could never leave you for a bigger stage?
It's a great question.
It really changes how you view their daily actions and their commitment to your local issues.
It redefines the entire relationship between the governed and the governing. It removes the cynicism that, unfortunately, often taints our view of public servants.
We really just covered a staggering amount of ground here.
We did.
We started with a 17-second clip of a guy jumping into a public pool in a thrifted business suit. And from that one weird moment, we unpacked the deep psychology behind why we need silly civic traditions.
We looked at how politicians use their wardrobe as literal armor against hyper-partisan attacks.
And the tangible power of localized grassroots leadership that actually has a ceiling on its ambition.
It just goes to show that in modern politics, every single action is laden with meaning, strategy, and public expectation. The visual is never just a visual.
So as you go about your week, keep an eye out for those secular rituals happening in your own cities. Notice when a local leader does something a little goofy or unpolished.
Pay attention to the splash.
Yeah, consider what those moments actually reveal about the people leading you and what kind of community they were trying to build.
And as you think about that, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, something that builds on this but takes it a step further.
Okay, let's hear.
If a politician's authenticity is currently measured by how well they execute a slightly unpolished, goofy stunt like jumping in a pool in a cheap suit, what happens when PR teams and eventually artificial intelligence learn to perfectly manufacture that imperfection?
Oh, wow.
Right. In the near future, will we even be able to tell the difference between a genuine moment of spontaneous joy and a stunt that was algorithmically generated specifically to make us feel good?
Man, the perfectly imperfect pool jump becoming just another calculated data point.
Exactly.
Well, until we cross that bridge, we will just have to appreciate the splash when a business suit finally hits the water.